Hello and welcome. So, I know, big surprise, something else is going away from Google. Although, to be fair, it's not just Google, which we will talk about. But Google News is removing the magazine subscriptions. We're going to talk about what they're saying are the reasons behind this, talk about what the options and what's going to happen for existing subscriptions, some options as far as exporting any content you currently have, and talk about some alternatives for you. So, what do you say? Shall we get this party started? I think so. Hello. All right, so if you've been using Google News for your magazine subscriptions for a while, you've probably noticed that the option to purchase or subscribe to new magazines has been unavailable for quite some time. And so that probably means that it's less of a surprise to you folks who have already noticed this feature is missing, that now Google News is taking away the magazine subscriptions that you already have access to, including the back issues. And that's where I think a lot of people are going to be caught unaware if they're not paying attention to what is being communicated. So we're going to talk about the changes, like the reasons behind this that they're saying, and what this means for anybody who has existing magazine subscriptions that way. And we will, just to get this out of the way, it's not just Google, by the way. So, yes, it's Amazon too. So this is a trend, not an individual issue. All right, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. But as we do around here, we're going to level set for anybody who doesn't know what the heck I'm talking about. And that is, at the beginning, Google launched Play Magazines app way back early 2000s. Oh, that's not good. Thank you, Marcus. I don't know why that's still playing. Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that, Marcus, as always. So Google Play Magazines was the first thing. 2012 is when that was. Then they took that and they folded it into the newsstand, right? And then the newsstand was moved into Google News. So that's the progression that we've gone through. So obviously this has gone through some transitions. And so a lot of people may not have even known that you could subscribe to magazines through Google because of these changes. But yes, you can. And there are people out there that have been actively consuming their magazines that way. The idea behind it, regardless of whether it was Google or Amazon or Apple or anybody, was that as the internet was picking up speed, there was some genuine concern, and definitely well-founded, from the magazine and newspaper folks, that traditional media was going to be going away, and to a certain degree that has proven to be true. The idea was that tablets would be the replacement, and so the digital form of that content would be consumed on things like tablets or, laptops and computers, that type of thing. Because at that point, the phones maybe were a little smaller, not all of them, but some of them, and maybe not as convenient to read on. And the idea when they presented this type of content online was that it would mimic the physical media. So the layout would be the same and all that. So in order to actually read stuff, it didn't adjust at that point to the device you were reading it on. So there was a lot of pinch and zoom and scrolling around in order to see the whole page. Maybe not the best user experience. So that is the reason that they're giving for this, right? So because everybody has sort of transitioned into getting their content in other ways, digital, there's so many options available. And some people may have gone back to physical magazines where that's still available. A lot of magazines have not survived this. So the trend overall, according to the data that they say that they have, I have not seen that data, so we're taking this on faith. But they're saying that fewer and fewer people were accessing magazines and getting their subscriptions through Google News and these other tools. And so they've decided that it's not worth it, and so they are discontinuing it. Now, this is the big important part here, right? This is going to happen for things on the Google side as of December 18th, 2023. So it is November 17th, 2023. So in a month, all of that content that you have is going to go away. And that's why we're having this conversation here, because It may not be the end of the world that you could no longer buy your subscriptions online this way, but losing content can be a problem for people. And I don't like my friends out there to be affected by this kind of thing. So we're going to talk about what your options are in a minute. Just again, for clarity's sake, let me switch this over here. So again, not just Google, although that's what we are talking about, but it happened on September 4th of 2023 for Amazon. And I won't kid you, this did not get a lot of press. But there is a page out there with information on it, and I will add that to the description in case you want to go and look at it, because it talks about what happened and getting a refund and all that kind of good stuff, in case that also applies to you, because a lot of people are using their Fire tablet and that type of thing. Alrighty, so let's keep going. Actually, before I go there, for those of you who are new here, welcome. Appreciate having you here. My name is Kathleen. I'm here as your tech coach. Short version of the story is technology is my day gig. It's also my hobby. So my friends, family, neighbors, coworkers tend to turn to me when they have a tech question, when they have a problem, when they want advice. I know not everybody has somebody like that. So hello, that's why we do the show every week. You're always welcome to come and join me live. I'm doing these on Fridays now, Friday at 7:45 p.m. Eastern time. But you can also catch them on whichever platform you're looking at right now. And if you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and send those, or you can send them to me at yourtechcoach.com. There's a little form there, so you can go ahead and use that. All right, let's get back to what we're talking about here. So the first, and for some people, the biggest issue is, what about the content that I already have? What about my back issues of magazines? What about my current subscriptions? So let's talk first about your back issues. There is, in most cases, there is going to be a way for you to export those as PDF files so that you will have the archives. You're just going to have to save them locally. Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, wherever you like to store stuff. They're not explaining what that process is any place that I can find it. What they're saying is that you will receive an email. You probably already received an email or two with instructions on how to do this. So they've assured us that the process is going to be straightforward, and we'll let you download and save any of the back issues that you want to save. If you have not seen that email, please go look for it. If not, reach out to Google Support and they will help you get it. If you're interested, you can also share that link so that I can share that information with people, because I don't have any active subscription, so I'm not going to get that email. The other side of this coin is, well, what about my existing subscriptions? I've paid for them. What's going to happen? You may, in some cases, hopefully most of the cases, be able to get a refund for any outstanding balance. Now, this is sort of tricky here, because the way that it was worded in a lot of the things that I read, and of course, all the links are in the description, but they say that if you subscribed in the past 60 days, you may be eligible for a refund, but you haven't been able to subscribe through Google News so in longer than that. So I don't know where that is. But the other key issue here, and again, it is a date issue, refund requests must be submitted before December 18th. So if you think you're eligible, I say go push them for it now, because you may have to have several conversations and you want to make sure that that process is completely done by December 18th. Let's see here. Marcus is saying that, yeah, they read theirs on the phone, on the native app. Yeah, right. And that's the thing, right? So since this approach was launched, content formatting by device has gotten much, much better, right? In the beginning, like having something that was a native app or was something that was fluid enough in the layout presentation layer that it would adjust. That wasn't the case when this kind of stuff was going on. It wasn't even really possible unless you were really good. There were ways to do it, but not everybody knew. So yeah, it's definitely the kind of thing where that's why they're doing away with this, because this is very much the formatted, the lockdown format of content that required you to do that pinch and zoom and scroll around the page, right? It didn't format for the device you were reading on it, which is what happens now. And they're not going to go back and refactor that now. Sorry, refactor means like rebuild it from scratch. That's really why this is dying. It's because, yeah, people aren't using it, but people aren't using it because it doesn't behave the way they expect things to behave in 2023, 2024 on their devices. So absolutely. That is definitely the case. Alrighty. So just to show, yes, it's them, but also, so I was curious, when I went to research this, is like, okay, I thought maybe Amazon might still be an option, but it's not, except if you are Kindle Unlimited, there is a subgrouping of magazines that you can get on Kindle Unlimited as a subscription or as an individual issue of a magazine. So there is a tiny little loophole there, and we'll talk about other options in a minute. The one thing I want to touch on as far as being able to download your back issues, that may not be possible if the particular subscription that you have, the particular magazine subscription, was built on a more interactive kind of thing. So if it had links in it, embedded videos, that type of thing, which most of the magazines from that approach didn't, but there were a group of them that were trying to push the envelope, trying to make it more of a better marriage between traditional print media and being online. You will not be able to download those, right? You won't be able to back those up. So that's the other case where you might be eligible for a refund because they can't give you a way to successfully download that. Now, we could argue from here to eternity about whether or not that's true, and couldn't they find ways to actually make it available? PDFs can be interactive to a certain level. Doesn't matter. They're not going to do it, and we have a month. So rather than churn on what should be, we need to deal with what is, and what is that it's going away. If you do not reach out and get your refund now, you will not get it in a couple of months. So if you're watching this in the future, my apologies, but it's already too late, because they're only giving us until December 18th, 2023. So I know this is not good news, and it's not. Don't shoot the messenger. I didn't make these decisions. I have no control over what they're doing out there. This is just how things are going. What can I say, right? So one of the things, and let me go back. I did not grab that link, and I should do that. If you're not sure, okay, and I was definitely in that camp. I was like, I know at one point I was doing magazines online, but I couldn't for the life of me remember, when or how long. So I will show you that there's a link again in the description, but you can go check to see if you have any magazines. So Wired, yeah, that makes sense. I was big on Wired for a long time until they decided that their goal in life was to make it impossible to read it because their graphic designer really, really wanted to express themselves. .NET Magazine, I mean, this is going back to 2018. So, if there's any of these issues that I wanted, I can go ahead and back them up, and I will spend some time doing it. But the link is news.google.com/my/magazines. And like I said, the link is in the description, but you can, if you're not sure, you can go ahead and you can check to see whether or not you have any of these magazine subscriptions out there, because you may very well have them and just don't remember. I certainly didn't at first. So that was the other thing that I wanted to mention before we get into the next piece, which is what are the alternatives going forward. But before I do that, I want to let you know that if you'd like, you can get on my mailing list. It's yourtechcoach.com/mailing list. No cost. I don't sell it. There's not advertisements in it all over the place or anything. This is just a way for me to communicate with you, because I have some plans for next year, and the mailing list folks are going to be the first ones to learn about it, get a chance to check it out, all that kind of good stuff. Also, it's just a really good way for me to let you know what I'm working on. Like, I always let them know first what the next show is going to be. So feel free to reach out. It's yourtechcoach.com mailing list, and that way you too can also be up to date on all of these good things. All right. Alternatives. Let's talk alternatives. So as we've covered, no, Amazon Kindle is not an alternative, right? Because they are on the same path, even a little ahead of it, along with the Google approach of we're not doing this anymore. But there are still people who are going to want to consume their magazines online. So the first option is directly through the magazine website or app. So that is the first thing to do, is like, if you have certain magazines that you like to read and you want to continue to consume them this way, go to their website, go to their tech support, find out what your options are from them. This removes the convenience of managing all of your subscriptions in one place, right? I mean, that's one of the things about doing it through Amazon or Google or somebody else, Apple, was, that you could go in and you could check to see, what were you subscribed to? Do you want to renew for the next year or not? Like, all in one place. And now this is going to put the onus back on you, where you're going to have to keep track and go to each individual publisher to go ahead and manage all that kind of stuff. But it is what it is. So that is the first place. And I would say that was probably where I would start personally, if I still wanted these particular magazines. I'm curious, does that magazine still exist? I'll have to go look later. I don't know. But that is the starting point. That said, there are third-party options as well. And there's a bunch of them. You can go and search online for those. But here, I just grabbed a few. I need to remove that so you can see them all. So these are ones that I've asked friends, and these are the ones that they all recommended. I have some people who are really hardcore about their magazines, so I reached out. So these are some options. You can absolutely go and search for other ones, but these will cover most of the magazines. So that's the other catch point with all of this, is that for traditional stuff, most of it will be covered by these kinds of resources. Some of them the publishers may not be wanting to deal with these third parties. So again, you'll have to go back to that original plan of going ahead and using it through the publisher's website or through an app like that. But here are some options just in case. And the other thing that I can suggest to you is some of the magazine content. Now, this is more for magazines that focus more on text. So I wouldn't say, like, although maybe they do, National Geographic, I don't know about, but something like the New Yorker or something that's very text heavy may have an RSS feed. And that's something that you can go ahead and plug into an RSS feed reader. RSS feeds, we've talked about before. I have a video on it. I probably need to do a new one. But RSS feeds were very hot for a little while, and then they kind of fell out of favor, but they're still out there, and they're still a great way to consume online content without having to go to every different website. Personally, I've relied on RSS from the beginning. I use Feedly for it. Again, there's other ones out there. But I love the convenience of being able to pull, news and information from different sources, being able to go into one app and go through and pick what's catching my eye at the moment and getting the updates that way. So that is another thing to look at if you are curious about it. They're really easy to set up, and it's a yes or no situation. Either the magazine publisher provides an RSS feed and you'll be able to get that link. It's just a URL. You'll be able to get that link from their website. And then you can go ahead and pop that into whichever tool you want to use. Most of the RSS feeders have a free plan, like Feedly. The level I'm using is free. But there are perks if you go ahead and pay a little bit every month. I just choose not to because I don't really need the perks. It does what I need to do at the free level. So that is those are a few alternatives that are available for people who are currently relying on Google News magazines or Amazon or whatever. I'm guessing I couldn't get a definitive answer about Apple, but if Google and Amazon are doing this, I'm assuming Apple's in there too. You can tell me in the comments if you find out otherwise, but that is the reality of where we're at. For you folks who have made it all the way through to the end, I love you again. Watch out for you. So I'm going to give you a bonus like I've been doing lately. And that is not directly about this, but it is a reminder about a show we did a few weeks ago because it's starting to happen. So Google has started deleting unused Gmail accounts. If you have a backup Gmail account, if you have a Gmail account you just don't use very often, but you want to keep, anything that has been around for longer than a year is available, is on target for being deleted. Definitely anything 2 years or more. So if you have a Google account and you have not logged into that in 2 years, it may already be gone. I did warn you. But it is actively happening. I'm starting to hear from people that it's happened to. So if you have a Google account that you have not actively been using, you don't have to use it every day. As long as you check in once a month. I'm recommending people do it twice a year, because if you do it twice a year and you miss one, you'll still get that once a year in there. But just be aware that that is happening actively now. And it's not a point in time thing. It is a rolling thing. So they've started it over the past few months, and it's going to continue to happen. It's, frankly, it's just a little job that's running in the background, and it goes and checks, okay, how long have these accounts been sitting here quiet? And when they've been sitting there too long, Google's going in and they're wiping them out. So be aware that that is happening. If you know of anybody who's got, accounts that maybe they're keeping around for sentimental reasons, or they just keep around as a backup, do go and make sure that they know that they need to log in, because otherwise it's going to go away. And once it's gone, there's no getting it back. And I don't believe they're sending out warnings anymore. When they first started to do this, they were sending out a lot of warnings. Of course, it was kind of a moot point, because if they were sending a warning email to an account that somebody wasn't logging into, nobody was seeing it. Or at least they tried, I guess. But be aware that that's going on now. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good week, and we will talk again next week. Have a good one. Bye.